With Team USA playing fast and loose in the LA group stage against the rest of their opposition, you almost had to think that they would turn things down a notch when going up against Canada. But that's not what happened at all. Their game plan for intense aggro plays continued, and it surely was a sight to behold, or perhaps fear and be upset by if you were a big fan of Team Canada. In this video, we're going to break down some of the key plays from both sides to see what we can learn about the matchup and as well the meta as a whole. First up, we gotta praise Canada for continuing with their game plan that they were already shown to be very strong at, that we've covered in a previous video: ult combinations. Man, does this team look well drilled. It seems they always put their ultimates in combination with one another to set up for success, but we already knew that about their style of play. You should expect that. What I thought was even more impressive coming out of Canada was the few moments where they looked to really sniff out hydration Sombra play. It seems as if, because Surefour is so good at Sombra himself, he and the rest of the team was really prepared for some of these Sombra engages, and oftentimes, even when he did get the EMP off, hydration was sniffed out. It's this slow pace of game that I think Canada really excels in. I like to call it the break of the fight, where teams are sort of poking, but setting up, jockeying for position, and then boom, the best abilities come out, breaking the fight open, and I think it's that stage of the fight Canada really excels at. That's something that you can coach. The next stage is a little bit harder to coach, and that's dynamic playmaking after the fight is broken out. Because sure, they could be prepared for the EMP engage all they want, but there's only so much you can prepare for getting punched in the face by Doomfist. Overall, Canada seemed to prefer slower defensive play, and the biggest show of that for me was here on Anubis, where hydration really can't find a very good EMP. It only gets a tank. Note responds with a self-destruct, equalizing the tank battle, and with support ults on both sides, it's basically impossible for Sinatra to find any purchase with this blade, and when USA does look bad, this is their biggest key weakness, where they rely so much on dynamic playmaking themselves. When it comes to a more structured ult fight, they look a little haphazard, because it's not really the way they practice to play. And then moving on to point B of Anubis, well, this is just Sombra's playground. It makes perfect sense why Team Canada would pick Anubis after going down 0-2 early in the series. It's probably Sombra's best map in the pool, which allowed Surefour and co to come through with the counter-engage disruption each and every time Team USA attempted to take any space at all. I think Anubis is a map that all teams, but especially Team USA, are going to have to look at more specifically in this Sombra meta, because if you yourself aren't getting Sombra EMP value on your attacks, you better start thinking of other strategies. Do you need to go to a Reaper, who in the past has been a very good answer to Sombra on the defense because he doesn't really care if he gets hacked. He blows up tanks and is going to protect your front line from getting hacked. I think Reaper's a character you seriously have to consider, because as strong as Doomfist is, he's not doing anything if you get hacked on the approach. But despite Canada having that strength about them, USA brought many more strengths. The first one I want to discuss is their team comp flexibility, coming straight out of the gates on University, putting their star DPS player on main tank. Do you think this is a troll? I don't. I think it is a distinct anti-Sombra setup that allows Muma to take space far on the left side by himself while still keeping the main tank brawling front line available for his team. Rein Winston is assumed to be a very poor combination, but there's a lot of reasons even in the past where I thought that it was quite good, but you can see why it's quite effective against the Sombra flanks with the triple tank from Canada, because really, Surefour has to get past Muma, and that's not where he wants to be. He wants to disrupt the majority of the brawling comp, and without him being able to farm EMP and get hacks off, USA's front line simply won't budge. Allows for Sinatra to play way more aggro because they have the Brigitte in this instance, and even when they do get the hack off on Sinatra, the backline is free to get their value out using both the sound barrier and nano boost to bail their team out, which overwhelmingly swings this fight into Team USA's favor. Now, another key with Team USA's victory here was that they were willing to make the swaps before it was too late. Team Canada rolling out here with the Reaper Special. This max DPS rushdown comp is one that we covered around a month ago. It does tons of damage, and as you can see, without the enemy knowing you have it, you're at a big advantage to just turn the corner and pop out with tons of damage that USA really can't contend with. The problem is, I thought even challenging hydration to get on to one of his favorite heroes, Pharah, was a massive mistake. You might think to yourself, well, yeah, Soldier, he counters Pharah, right? But no, not really. Not enough. Pharah can shoot from miles away, and Soldier, even after the buff, isn't really enough for this team comp as a whole to avoid taking massive damage. Hydration is just going to farm tons of ult charge and handily win the fight, forcing Canada to swap, which I think is a death sentence in control. You don't want to have to swap, yielding over a big ult advantage into the enemy team. Canada will be clawing their way back out of this round after making that decision. I don't mind them going for some cheeky off-meta strategy, but I think one that leaves you open to one of USA's strongest picks in the pool, Pharah, on one of her best maps is just kind of a mistake. And as well, I think Agilities had to swap onto his own Pharah way earlier because he was on the Brigida, and as the retaking team, you have to go aggressive to go get kills and make space. You don't really have the damage unless the enemy makes a mistake. If both teams have a Brigida, the defending team typically wins because they're both just healing each other and defense can run away. They're in control of the point. You have to come kill them. Hydration went uncontested on this Pharah far too long. Remember, there's no hit scan for the side of USA. Canada has 2 ranged DPS characters. USA only has the Pharah. Why are they funneling in to fight in close range as if they had the Brigida? This isn't what you want. With Canada's comp here, they needed to pressure Hydration in open space as well as punish the range disadvantage that Sinatra would have when playing out in the point. Funneling the fight into a close range environment was just asking for death. Despite looking like they play hard-headedly to just slam themselves into the enemy until they win, they are willing to make these swaps. Here, running their new age multi-tank, we might call it the Reinhardt DPS comp, where the damage player Sinatra plays Rein in order to try to get him swinging. They try to set him up in order to siege the castle here, as it were, the bunker, but it just doesn't work out. Junkrat spams them away. They can't get their tanks up close. Canada's peel, which I think was quite good for the majority of the series, comes through, and the nail in the coffin, the rip tire, gets the backline. So with a couple minutes left, they go to their triple tank dive, which I think can be best understood as a direct Widowmaker counter. Yes, Junkrat still pretty good against 3 tanks, but they have the mobility to make plays to get around him, to get past him, and even with a bit of a defensive advantage with the double support ult, Muma uses his primal to drain the resources out of both Valkyrie and Transcendence, keeping the healers zoned out so that even though the ground battle is going fair for Canada, there's been enough chaos and enough displacement of the enemy that USA is allowed to start fragging back. Most notably, XQC on the Orisa can't get any healing at all and just gets manhandled here on the point by himself. And that's when the team fight falls apart. And the last crucial swap that I want to cover is here on Rialto, where Hydration is playing his signature Pharah pick. Now, Rialto and Pharah go together like peanut butter and jelly, but not so much on the attack if the enemy isn't running something for you to fight. Because if you look at Team Canada, what does Hydration realistically have an opportunity to fight reliably? Does he work down Brigida shields while she's hiding? Does he poke down the tanks? Well, they're running away and have mobility. Zenyatta's hiding and Ana is a fair duel. Not to mention he's got to worry about Surefour's Sombra, which is one of the most underrated counters to Pharah right now. In some ways, you could say she counters everything, but if Hydration goes too aggro and gets hacked, he falls to the ground like a bag of potatoes. So he almost has to play at a further distance, and it's actually looking really bad here on point A of Rialto. But Team USA comes through with the swaps that they have to make. Hydration goes over to the Sombra, Sinatra on the Brigida, along with some panic swaps. Rock is running back to the point with the Soldier, not a moment too soon. This series very easily could have gone to a 5th map if these clutch swaps and plays didn't come through in time. But despite it looking rough, when they go back onto the defense now, Hydration is willing to go back onto the Pharah because it's in a lot better spot when you're in control of the map and the enemy has to run into you. Pharah loves this map on defense, and especially since they don't really want Surefour to have to play Widow, they want him on Sombra. It was a great call that bought them 2 minutes of hold until Agilities popped off with his blade, but every inch matters on a payload map like this. And going to this last fight, Canada has tons of ultimates, but not having a Lucio here, I think, is a massive mistake. They're so slow walking up this ramp. Plenty of time for the Winston aggro engage to come on down with the nano boost. Self-destruct doesn't end up getting any kills, but it zones out the backline. And then, all the while, the majority of Team USA is able to just gobble up any of the members who are attempting to scramble onto the cart. And there you have it. Team USA ends up taking the victory in the similar fashion that they took the rest of the group stage, taking seemingly every opportunity they could find in order to play aggressive. And that kind of pressure is really hard for any team to match up against. The last point that I want to make about their style of play, though, that I thought was pretty interesting is what I assume is something that's been covered in coaching, which I mentioned a bit in my last video, but Team USA commits hard and fully when abilities are landed. Sometimes it ends up not working out. Like in this clip, Surefour actually gets hacked and is low and is running away. Muma is more than willing to try to go trade his life to get the kill, just barely misses out on it, and actually, oddly enough, that may have been the deciding factor of why Anubis ended up falling from their fingertips. But honestly, it rarely failed. Most of the group stage, USA was chasing down anti-nades, even when Canada was trying to make some progress, getting eliminations on USA's backline. USA always repaid the favor. And it's his tendency to fight so frequently and ferociously that allows for big plays like this one to get set up, where Canada looks like they're finally going to secure the last tick on King's Row, but between Sinatra blowing up the backline and Muma not willing to give an inch, tossing Primal Rage at the objective to face tank the Diva Bomb, surviving it, getting final blows both on the baby Diva and the enemy main tank, stopping the progress on the point. Big plays like this were just the name of USA's game. They're willing to do things that look a little bit crazy if they fail, but when they succeed, they win really hard. Well, guys, that's everything for the Team USA versus Canada breakdown. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, please subscribe because we upload each and every day. So you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Link to the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.